Welcome to the running journey. Welcome to the running journey.
Welcome to the running journey.
Welcome
to the running journey. Running journey, yeah. Welcome to The Running Journey, a transformative podcast telling the story of two brothers faced with a very tough time in their lives that decided to do something about it, get healthy, get fit, and start jogging. The Running Journey will take you through half marathons, Ironmans, ultra marathons, and their attempt at qualifying for the Boston Marathon.
Don't forget 5Ks. Sorry.
We're certainly not going to forget 5Ks, Charlie. This is The Running Journey. Listen to us while you run.
That's a great idea.
Okay, I think we have our intro.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Welcome. Episode 2 of The Running Journey. I'm Rob Tatro. I'm here with my brother, Charlie Tatro. We are two brothers, used to be fat, two bigger guys that decided to make some changes in their lives and found running for mental clarity. We made changes in our lives, and here we are today talking about that. And part of the reason that we're doing this, I'm going to ask you actually, Charlie, why we're doing this, but it's great to have you here. If you missed the first episode, catch it wherever you catch all your podcasts under The Running Journey. Search for us. We talked about our history, starting running, our dad's cancer, how we decided that we would just start walking and running. In the first episode, we got all the way up to the marathon in Tucson, Charlie. I was kind of talking about how I thought that you were ahead of me, and you're saying, well, you're kind of crushing some 5Ks. I think I did a sub 20-minute 5K before Tucson, which, is fairly fast. I think I'd always had probably more. Well, I don't know. Did I always have more speed than you? I for sure always had more speed than you, right? I think.
Well, I mean, I think I could do a sub 25K now, but it would not be easy.
No, for sure.
So yeah, you have more speed than me for sure.
Well, I think you averaged a sub 25K.
Yeah,
25K for your last marathon.
Yeah, but yeah.
No, so I think it was like, I think it was, I don't know. I was hoping I could just keep up with you. And I remember you texted me, hey, you want to come do a marathon in Tucson? And to me, that was exactly what I needed, because I was kind of like spinning and I was like, what do I do now? And I did a marathon. I wanted to do it in 4:20. I didn't do it. I kind of felt a little bit like a failure. And this is tough for anyone who kind of listening now is like, shut up, Rob. Shut your mouth. You didn't feel like a failure. I did. I actually did feel like a failure because.
Well, I think everyone's had bad races, right? So, I mean, so it's okay to talk about how you felt. Like, I mean, everyone's had bad races.
Yeah. And it didn't go my way. And I'm that kind of guy. And I'm sure you're the exact same way, Charlie, where people were like, oh, wow, you did unreal. And deep down, I was like, kind of left something on the track, and I wanted to, on the track or the race or the course. And I couldn't just leave it at that. It's kind of like that hitter who hits 299 and like was so close to hitting 300, or hit 49 dingers. And he just, goes back. That's how I felt. I needed to hit my 420. I wanted to hit a 10-minute, I guess technically a 10-minute mile would be 422, I guess, right, Charlie? 42.2 miles, right? Would be.
I think it's a bit more. 420.
It'd be 26.2 miles would be
somewhere
4 hours 20 minutes and 4 hours and 22 minutes. So I wanted to do that, and I didn't do it. So when you asked me, I was like, here's my chance to get rid of this monkey off my back. And meanwhile, you were motivated to run another sub 4, I think, right?
Yeah, but I had, so when I started running, I kind of wrote a 3-year plan. And in the first year, part of that 3-year plan was to break a sub 4-hour marathon. And I wasn't sure at first if December would be the one that I'd try to break 4 hours, but as it came closer and closer, I signed up for it earlier. And as it came closer and closer, I felt like my fitness was there, and 4 hours was definitely doable. So that was kind of the goal going in there.
So you, the race was early December. We flew out there, just the two of us, and we also brought my son, right? He came with us, and
That was a good time. Yep.
That was a great time. Yeah, we ended up.
Your son, so we finished the marathon, and your son just wants to like, we went around town because your son wanted to go and do stuff, which was kind of good. It's kind of awesome, actually. Anyways,
Yeah.
sorry. Like there was no resting after, is what I'm
You
saying.
said. No, I know. I'm just looking at the at our message history. November 8th is when I decided I was going. So this is a good
Oh, you have it all the way back. Okay.
kind of 4 weeks before. Yeah, and you said I asked you what your target was. And you said my target is sub 4, and I said maybe I'll see how my runs go. And I said, well, today I did 7 miles at 7 miles per hour without going over 155, and I felt really good. And you said, I think 4 is definitely possible for you. And I was like, all right, good enough. I feel like I'm a different person than 2 months ago. And I remember you already talking about pacing. This is like, I hadn't even signed up yet. And you're like, you start at 9:30 and you slowly build up. Start at 9:30. Do you remember how that race went?
Yeah. I think we did do a negative though.
Yeah, no, we did a negative for sure.
Yeah.
But it was there was that hill.
Yeah. So mile 9, 10. But I think so. The plan was, I think we said the plan was we're going to start 9:30, and then every 3 miles, speed up by 5 seconds or something, so that the average at the end would be 9:10, which is a sub 4 hour. And that's not exactly how we did it, because you're always too excited at the beginning and you go a little too fast. So that's the whole point.
Yeah, it's and you know what? Like running a marathon is hard.
It's hard. That's why you got to take it slow at the beginning, because it's hard.
Yeah, you could slow down by half a minute and you still have 10. So I was asking you, I was so naive and clueless about running. How long can a body sustain a high number? And what is that number? And for how long can I sustain it?
It depends on it depends.
That's
on
what
the
I was
person,
asking you, right? Heart rate. I was so clueless how long. And then you sent me, well, my 10K, I did 168. And I said, okay, I topped out. I was running in the 180s back then. And I was like, okay, well,
but everyone's different though, right? Like, so my 165 could be, you could probably maybe able to handle 170. But I know that I think I sent you, when you asked me that, I sent you my 3 previous marathons, which were all 165, my average. But the next ones were higher.
Yeah, I'm checking. 21:15 was my last 5K right before the marathon. 21:15.
Oh, yeah.
And then you gave me that formula that, and I was using the formula all the time, right? Where you multiply, you divide the number of miles. You divide 42.2 divide by the number of kilometers you've done, and then you multiply your time times 1 exponent 1.09 or 1.10, something like that.
Well, you can adjust the parameter the higher the number, but it's an exponent. It's a logarithmic formula that kind of, it's all the calculators all do it that way, the same way. If you look online for pace calculator, it'll convert. Yeah.
So that it gave me a time just under 4 hours and then I was excited. I was like, okay, it's possible. Yeah. How do you think that race went?
For me, that race went perfectly. I know you had a bit of a hard time with the uphill. So it went perfectly. The mile 9 and 10 were still pretty hard because so it's mostly a downhill run, and 9 and 10 were actually pretty uphill. Like, it was not just a small uphill. It was 2 miles long of uphill.
There was a lot of people walking.
Yeah. And I felt like that's where I showed, it was hard, but I felt okay after it. And that's where I was like, okay, I'm doing this, no problem.
I was not feeling great after, like when we went up that hill. And for those of you that don't know, the Tucson Marathon, there's this thing called like there's a special on Netflix where
the Biodome or something.
Biodome, but it's not like the movie with what's that guy's name? The non-funny guy that's kind of funny. Pauly Shore?
Yeah, maybe.
Is that his name? Pauly Shore? I think it's him. Biodome. I think Pauly Shore made a movie called Biodome, and as you'll Google it and correct me, but it's not that Biodome. It's the real Biodome in Tucson, and they made a documentary how these. I think there were 6 scientists that went in there and lived in there, and the plan was that they'd live in there perpetually, and they had like flowers and plants, and anyways, they ended up juicing because they were pumping in oxygen because they weren't able to create enough. Anyways, it failed.
Yeah.
Am I close? Was it Pauly Shore?
Pauly Shore, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, okay, nailed it. So that I believe that was watchable, certainly watchable. And we ran uphill to that biodome, and I didn't even know it at the time. But my point is that when we came back down, down, however downhill, my heart rate, I was like, all right, it's going to settle back down to like 150, 160. It never left. Like it went to 172 or whatever, and it never left. And I was battling it in my head the whole time. Because I think we crossed the half. Did we cross the half right around?
Well, so it was an out
back
and
on
back.
the road.
Yeah, so it was a 2-mile out and back. 9 and 10 were up the hill, and then 11 and 12 were down. Or sorry, it must have been 10 and 11.
10 and 11 were up, and 12
and then 12 and 13 are down, back down, and then
we crossed right as we were getting back onto the highway there.
Yeah.
And I remember that, that was our split or whatever for the half. And then after that, I was like, can I hang on? Is it possible that I could follow my brother here? Because you just felt like you were in better condition that day than I was. Like you were.
That was probably true on that day. Yeah, I mean, but you put in a really amazing effort to stay. Like, but you beat it by 3 minutes. Like, I think I beat you on the last mile by a minute. But besides that, we were together.
I hung on, right? Like I remember thinking the whole way through. And for those, maybe we should just talk about how we decided to run that race real quickly. So I kind of told you, I think my recollection is, I'll follow you because you had all these plans for pacing, and I was like, sounds complicated, but I'll follow you, and I'll follow you as long as I can, and then you just go whenever you think you can. Is that kind of how it went?
Yeah, I'm getting like I've got a smile because I'm like thinking of that race and some of the things that happened during that race, and it was good memories because I remember you the whole first half constantly telling me to slow down because I was going faster than what we had planned.
Well, you went through the process of giving me a pace, and I'm like, all right. So the night before, I memorized the paces, I memorized the plan, I put it in my watch, I knew the pace we were supposed to go. As soon as we get out there, boom, you're zooming way fast on the pace. And you had told me, hey, if I'm going too fast, Rob, make sure you tell me, and we're going to slow it down. So here I am. Charlie, you're 30 seconds ahead of your pace there. You're like, feel good. And you just
no. I did slow, it was really good that you were doing that because I hadn't run a marathon in so long that like that's the hardest thing. That's one of the hardest things of running a marathon is pacing, right? And then we had to pee like 5 times each. And
on the early parts, that's right. Wow. Yeah, we had no clue. And remember, like the guy, like, oh, they're tossing people from the race if they're finding you urinating on the side of the road. And I was like, really? Isn't that like we grew up in
like that's what we used to do, man, to a marathon
country and like yeah, like I've this is what you do. You pee on the side of the road when you need to pee at every race I've been at. But apparently
we didn't know you're not supposed to. And we did like 4 times, right?
Yeah, because that's kind of before we knew how to manage our water intake before the race. But like I'm thinking we were walking the aid stations, were we not?
Yeah, which I think was a good strategy for that race because we needed to make sure we got all our water in. So yeah, I think that was a good strategy. And then
so you hadn't run a marathon in how long, Charlie, at that point? Like 5 years? Right?
2017. So that would have been 4 years, but 4.5 years. Yeah.
So you hadn't run one, and I had not. Well, I guess I had run one 3 months earlier. Forget it. So I had run one very recently, but it was
very different. It was very different because that one you kind of gassed out, right? So
yeah, I wasn't ready to run.
I mean, it's not that like. But this one, like, I think we executed it really well, actually.
Hey, we did a sub 4 hour, and I mean, I don't know if I could have possibly raced any faster because my heart rate was pretty much the highest all the way to I was ridiculously spent the whole last 13 miles. It was a mental challenge, and I actually had you to thank because you dragged me. You dragged me those last 5 or 6 miles because I was really hurting,
Well,
really hurting.
and that's the other part that, like, even though we weren't maybe exactly same pace at all the marathons that we've run together, I think no matter what, it's just better to run with someone that's roughly close to you. And then I think it makes it so much easier for a marathon anyways. That's my opinion. What do you think? Like
Oh my God. It was like, I don't like you or anything,
yeah.
but that was like, I couldn't think of a better person to have next to me because you complimented everything that I like that I needed, which was basically, data, reassurance, planning. It's all the stuff that I really needed. I needed all that, and you had it. And we wouldn't talk for 5 miles, but all of a sudden I needed something. Like I needed like you to, I don't know, tell me how the next 3 miles were going to be, or tell me what the plan was. And you were there, and you were dragging and pacing me. So like,
Did you have any gels on that one?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you already had your coach by then. Or
No, I didn't have the gels. No.
yeah,
No, I
neither of
didn't
us
start
had.
the gels. No, I didn't start the gels till Ironman. Ironman was my first
Yeah.
foray into gels.
Neither of us had gels, so that was probably a mistake. So I checked my heart rate was 155 for that one. So that was probably one of the easiest. Like, I mean, it was still hard, but
So here's my theory on what happened there. I think you kind of sacrificed your time a little bit subconsciously just to make sure that
my goal
I
was
would
only to
get
get
sub
4
4.
hours, right? So
Yeah. But like had you might have had a 350 in you, or a 348 or a 346,
I
maybe.
think maybe I could have gone a little bit faster, but not that
But then
much.
there was a good chance I wasn't making it, right?
Well, we had talked before and we said, like, I don't care if I do 350 or 345, but if I do 401 compared to 359, I would be like, I'd be disappointed. Like, I wouldn't be that disappointed. I'd still be happy I finished it, but that was the line where, because the goal was 4 hours, that was the line where I would have been disappointed, right? And so I just made uh, we had a conservative race plan to make sure we broke 4 hours.
And I remember like 3 miles out, I think, or 4 miles out, okay, 10-minute miles, I can do this. But I had forgot to factor the 0.2 when I was doing my math. Like I had 4.2 miles left, right? Or 3.2 miles left.
Oh, at the
So
end?
that's like 2 minutes, right? Or whatever. Yeah, for my last 3 miles, I want to say.
Yeah, because you were at the end, you were like,
I'm going up.
you were kind of hitting it. You always hit a bit of a wall in a marathon, like I even did there. But so you had a bit of a wall there, and you were calculating like how many 10-minute miles could you do? And
Yeah, I kept thinking, okay, 4 10-minute miles. I can do 4 10-minute miles. I sure do 4 10-minute miles, because we were doing like, what would that be, 9 and 9:10 or something like that.
I think some of them we would even go
9:08
under 8 at that point. We were, I was feeling pretty good, like at 20, at 18, 19. I think I had a couple bad miles at 22, which is always, 22, 23 were a little hard. And then once I had 25, I felt good.
And you were like, you left me 23, 24, something like that.
No, 25. I saw
25.
So I said I'll just stay with Rob. At some point I said, okay, I think I could go faster. Maybe it was like 23 or something. But I said I'll just constant pace, and once I hit 25, I know Rob's gonna make it, and I'm gonna go at that point. And I think I did my last mile in 8 minutes.
Last mile in, sorry, what was that?
8 minutes.
8 minutes, yeah. So you were, yeah, you still had juice in the tank. I didn't. I think I did my last mile in 10 and a half or something. Like I was definitely struggling. I had a cramp, or whatever you call them, in the side of your hip there, and it was hard for me, but I knew that I had like a minute and a half to spare or whatever, right? So that's like, to beat 4 hours was
Well, you ended up 3 ahead, right? So
what did I
well,
do?
you
I
were
think
at
I did
257.
358, Charlie.
No, you were 257, I think.
350,
Oh, sorry.
357.
Of course. I was
Yeah.
355 something, so I think you were only a minute.
Oh, maybe I was 357. Okay, yeah.
I think you were only a
357,
minute and a half behind me or something.
Yeah, but it was just enough that the whole, like, at the end I was like, okay, I got this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. But there's still that doubt in the back of your mind. And every time I do,
There always is, even though it's like, it's weird, eh? Like, you're always thinking worst case scenarios when you hit 22, 23. It's like, avoid that thinking.
yeah, how fast can I walk?
Yeah.
How fast can I
If
walk?
I walk now, am I still making my goal?
Yeah, and I remember, like, the further you get, like, you're like mile 25 and a half. Okay, I can walk from here, and I'm gonna
And then
do
you
it.
say,
Like, I
and
can
then you
walk
tell
from here.
yourself, okay, just keep going. Like, shut up.
Yeah, just keep going. And then, like, could I crawl? Could I crawl from here and still make it? That's why for me, I always check every race I do. I always check the people that finished 4 hours and like 8 seconds, 4 hours 0:00:08, 4 hours 0:00:02. I always like to see that, and I always just like to think, I don't know. I put myself in that person's shoes, and I wonder what happened. Like, what happened that it was like 7 seconds or 8 seconds or 4 seconds that made you? Was it a timing thing? Was it a chip thing? Was it because it's almost like, oh, that would suck, eh?
I saw a YouTube video. So this is recently. It was the U.S.
Sorry, what's YouTube?
It's
a joke.
so it was the U.S. Marathon qualifier. Okay, and they have a specific time where if they run under, I think it's like 2:28 or something for the women, and she ran as hard as she could. She could barely run. Like, it looked like she didn't know how to run, but she ran in 2:28, so she got to be a pretty decent runner. But she was obviously spent. She just got over the finish line, and it was 1 second over the U.S. But here's the good thing for her. It was chip timed, so she was actually 2 seconds faster. She made it by 1 second.
Do you think she knew?
Probably, yeah, I would say.
Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of people that are like 3:59:40, 3:59:30, like this.
Yeah.
I feel
You'll
like
adjust you might adjust your effort. Like, I feel like the last one I did, I kind of mailed it in for the last half mile, maybe, because I knew it was
because you knew you had it.
You knew I had a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, we went, we finished that race. I was so spent, and then we went and hung out with my son. We went to the park or the zoo or whatever the heck we did. That was a really, really fun trip, because that's kind of what got me into like these road trip races, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, doing a road trip or doing a trip just to go do a race, which I had never really done, and it was super fun, and kind of led to, I did one in Killarney, Ireland. I did, we did Vegas. We did, where's the other one that we did?
The last one we did it in California.
California.
Well, and then you went to Des Moines,
Iowa for the Ironman, and Texas coming up, Houston.
Riding Mountain for me.
Riding Mountain, Hecla for me. Hecla.
Yeah.
The summer races that we did. And
Winnipeg
for me,
Winnipeg Beach.
Winnipeg Beach. I've not done that one, but if you haven't gathered this yet from viewers, it's fun. It's fun to do these things, and my mental health and my clarity. Again, this is called a running journey, right? So our running journey, and being at peace with whatever happens with my dad, because I'm focusing on the things I can control, to being at peace with whatever happens in the stock market, in my business, from being at peace with whatever happens for a decision that a teacher makes for my child, to just life generally, because we're focusing on what we can control, which is our efforts and our jogging and our calendar. And we're getting a lot of positive mental energy from that, for me anyways. And our story here is to tell you, and we're asking you to join us on this journey. So if you've liked what you've heard here in episode 2, please smash that red button, subscribe, listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Charlie, this is your episode.
Yeah.
You're going to give us a fact about me that the viewers don't know, and then I'm going to question it if you're chirping me or
So first fact is that Rob was once named I think MVP of the French Improv Finals of Manitoba. One, so that's one.
Oh,
And
that was
then maybe I should
was...
save this second one, but I'll give the second
No,
one.
but wait, I have to talk about the first one real quick. I was in
Okay.
my grade 9 year in high school.
Yeah.
And this was like, I was a kid. I hadn't even reached puberty yet. And I was with like older kids, Paul Suren and Jack Tatro and Andre Odette, Daniel Odette. Like there was a good group of guys. And I just came out of my shell that day. And I was like, this is me. And that was my coming out party. And yeah, that was super, super fun. And I'm curious to hear what the second one is.
Second one is he never ever scored a point against me when we were playing one-on-one football when we were young.
Well, yeah.
No, that wasn't it. So the actual fact was
I was half your size. I was half your size my entire year.
The actual fact is that
so
Rob,
Charlie is 2 years older than me, for the record.
Yeah. So the actual fact is that Rob played CIAU volleyball, I believe. Div 1. Is that true?
Yeah, that's a surprise. That is true. That's a bit of a surprise. The claim to fame there is 100% legit. I mean, it's kind of like running a downhill marathon. You get a great time. You don't necessarily tell everyone the details behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played CIU volleyball. People ask. Yeah, I was on a terrible team and I didn't start, but I played. I traveled with the team. I practiced. That was the greatest. That was the funnest year of my life. One of the funnest years of my life. My first year of university. That's when I ran my first ever marathon. Actually, I was so fit. I was so in shape because I was practicing every day with these athletes, and I just ran a marathon without really training. And I really mean like without really training back then. But ran a couple.
We're gonna have
4
to
miles.
talk about the triathlon you ran in those days too.
Oh yeah, that was a story. Yeah, we'll tell the triathlon story when we talk a bit about some of the triathlon.
19.
Oh, that is a crazy story. I showed up. That's a funny. I rented a bike. I had no clue what I was doing. I will share that story with you guys on the next episode. In the meantime, thank you guys for tuning in. Next episode, we'll continue with our journey. And thank you for joining us. Give us your comments. Give us your thoughts. We'd love to hear about your running journey or any comments that you might have about us. Feel free to reach out to us as well. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.